And we told you today we're going big on the district level elections because in this election, it's the time that we get to choose members of the unit committees and the various assemblies across the board. So we have metropolitan, municipal, as well as districts. Okay, and these assemblies help the various MMDCEs to be able to preside over their various jurisdictions. But we've also witnessed that there seemed to be some lack of apathy in this. We've witnessed this in the Fourth Republic. So this is what we decided to do. We'll be connecting with our various correspondents across the country and get to know what the reports are, because by now, 22 minutes past 7, we should have at least people trooping into the various polling stations to vote and then get to know what the latest is. But we also decided to have in studio Mr. Albert Ahin, who was a former Director of Elections for Ghana's Electoral Commission, but currently co-chair for the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers right here in Ghana. And Mr. Ahin, good morning, and thank you for joining me.
Roland.
Yeah, and you and your coalition, you're monitoring the elections throughout. Yeah. What's the schedule or program of action like for today?
Okay, we're going to have 1,100 observers, and 800 of them are going to be sedentary. By sedentary, I mean they will be seated at the various polling stations throughout the period of the election. And then we have another 200 who will also be roaming. And what they are going to do, for example, this morning, as the poll started, by 7:15, they should be able to report to us as to the readiness of the commission with regards to the setup of the polling station. And they're going to use the SMS method. By now, I'm sure they would have started sending messages.
Okay, that's how you do it?
Yes, sending messages like, the poll has started, we have these materials, all of them are in sufficient quantities. The men who are supposed to be manning the stations, like the poll staff, are this in number and they are this and that. No, in short, they would tell us whether the poll has opened and they have started working.
But when you do these monitoring, you do them for good reason?
Yes, we do them for a good reason because we want to know the preparedness of the EC, for example, in terms of the materials that are going to be sent there.
Okay.
The preparedness of the EC by way of staff, and then also to know whether the people, especially this morning, whether they have come in their numbers to do the polling. And so these things are all going to be reported. If there's one person, 2 people, 3 or whatever, the time they started, this all be known.
I'm just wondering though, yesterday when I spoke to Dr. Kweku, who is Director of Electoral Services now, he said they have about close to 31,000 polling stations. So I was wondering whether if you have for sedentary 1,100, that's enough to do the monitoring.
Yes.
Or how do you how do you tend to
scientifically we have 800 and it's going to work.
Okay.
Just like we do the PVT, power vote tabulation, by way of getting the results of the polling stations and predicting the results of the election accurately. So these 800 people at the various polling stations have been randomly selected. It means across the length and breadth of this country, you're going to have everybody represented in every district.
Okay.
So that is going to be a representative sample of what is going to happen at the polling station. And scientifically, it's been proven that when you have that kind of sample, you'll be able to tell exactly.
That should be good enough.
Good enough to give you a fair idea.
By way of the population.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is it that you don't use some personnel of the Electoral Commission to be also part of your observer people?
No, we can't use because we are referees and we are watching over them.
Ah, okay.
So if you are watching over somebody, we are like auditors. We want to audit the work that they are doing. We want to make sure there's freeness, there's fairness, there's credibility in the election. And so we are there to make sure that these things are happening. Yeah, so we cannot put them on our boat. That boat will sink.
A constant worry in the commentary of people like you and then those who have observed elections over the period. And even political scientists, etc., have been that we've had turnout in the Fourth Republic for the district level elections. Has that been a worry, and what could be some of the attributory factors to that?
Honestly, that has been a worry to CODEO too. And I was telling somebody yesterday that since the first one that was conducted in this country, where we had about 59 point something %, it has fallen so low, sometimes as low as 30%. And one would wonder why this is happening. You know, and people have been attributing it, one, to the fact that maybe the assembly members themselves are not performing. And then again, also to the fact that because it's not partisan, it does not generate that interest. You know, when the parties are involved, they sometimes even use their vehicles to convey people to go and vote. They entice them with money, and so forth and so on. There are so many factors. With time, the Ghanaian is losing interest in the district assembly election. And people, you know, the reasons why they even brought in this idea of making it partisan so that, you know, the participation will be that big. But it is still losing its interest. I was asking somebody this morning whether he was going to vote, and he tells me he has never voted since that process began because the assemblymen are not performing. So far as he's concerned, even with this one, he doesn't even know those contesting in this area. So one, marketing of the candidates is even a problem.
Because they need platforms and they need to communicate to people.
Yes.
Okay.
They have the platform to tell the people their manifestos. You know, those days when we started it, the Electoral Commission was mounting the platforms for them. I think it's not even different now.
Well, they still do.
It's the same thing. Yes. You see, and the interest was so much so that when the assemblymen were elected, they were even competing with chiefs in the area. Can you believe that assemblymen those days in the 80s, 87 thereabout, were sometimes taking salutes at the parade grounds when we are celebrating our independence? They were so important. Anybody who visited the community would first see the assemblyman.
Okay.
This has all gone down.
Okay. Would you say perhaps the initial interest was because of the period when we did the transition? It was a period of the revolution, and
that's right,
where obey command and control was always something that were key virtues or factors. And would you say that also contributed to that?
Yes, you know, because those days, I remember very well. Yesterday I was telling a friend, we used to have what they call District Election Committee membership. Apart from the EC, in the district there was a District Election Committee made up of about 5 people, very strong people who were opinion leaders in the area. And they were going around with the EC, helping to mobilize people, helping to solve problems here and there. So they were complementing the efforts of the EC. And I'm sure that thing also contributed a lot. And the interest was there. And also the fact that at that time, the government of the day felt that development ought to start from the grassroots. That was the time they said they wanted to have the bottom-up approach to governance. They call it bottom-up approach. And so they formed what they called Public Administration Restructuring Implementation Committee, PADIC. PADIC was to be set up in all the districts to look into how even the districts were going to be created. They did that. And the interest was there. In a unit committee, for example, people could start their own development projects. Okay? And so the idea caught up with the people. If you have about 500 people, they can start, for example, to mobilize and do something for the community. And everybody was interested. You see, and you remember those days, it was this grassroots thing, development, and it caught up. Now, it is waned.
It is waned. So I guess that's why the argument that the parties need to get involved.
That's what the people are saying.
Okay, but critically, based on your own observation, let's say now the elections are being convened, and ultimately if we had the referendum and there was a yes vote and there was subsequent changes to
the Constitution,
those entrenched clauses, etc., and we had these number of, or a number of individuals contesting on parties for the various electoral areas, that would have gingered everybody up. Everybody will have been interested, or it's because of the support of the parties at the base?
Yes. You see, let us also not forget that even though the parties are not supposed to be there, they are there clandestinely.
Indirectly.
Indirectly. And was it you that I was talking to you yesterday? I said
yesterday.
They even sometimes conduct primaries for the people. No, because they believe that if you're able to get a stronghold in the district, then
you help in the mobilization.
Yes.
Yeah. Towards the main election.
Main election. So they are very much interested in that. So I don't know. The veil is covering everybody.
Yeah.
We are not seeing them coming out, but they are there.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday when I had the interaction with you, so I went to have an interaction with a friend.
Okay.
Well, he's a younger person, and he lives in my community. So he had told me he was interested in the election, but over the period I saw that he had even done a poster, an adhesive flyer and all that. But I saw that he pulled it down. So I asked him just yesterday, and he said, well, in the party, they said he should stand down for somebody else to go. Yeah, so it also shows.
Yes, it tells you that they are there. And you see, these days, they don't even shy about that. They come out boldly to say that they have been organizing. And there's no arrest made.
Yeah.
People see posters in party colors, and we are not worried about that.
Yeah. So then, perhaps then we have to gravitate towards the president's comment about building the consensus, so that we know that their participation could be done.
And you see, that is very, very true, because for those who framed that law, making it, is it 40% participation and 75%, winning. And you cannot get that when you are alone as a head of state or leader of a party. You need to build the consensus. 40, 75, it is not easy to get.
Knowing how the two political divides tend to get
So it was put there intentionally so that you could come together. So nobody can say that he alone is going to do it, unless, of course, I don't know what mobilization the person is going to make.
Well, definitely. Now, let's get on to the phone lines and speak to Ina Talia Kwanzaa, award-winning journalist for the year 2019, and she is at Esikafo Amantem in the Western region. And good morning to you.
Good morning, Roland.
Is that an electoral area?
Yes.
Okay, in which of the areas specifically?
As in the Takrade area, one of them.
Okay.
We have 63 electoral areas in the second Takrade metropolis.
Fantastic. And what's the atmosphere at where you are currently?
Roland, I have been here since 6 a.m. and it has been very quiet. The electoral commission and his people came here as early as 5:30. I am told, but as of now, only about 30 people have shown up. And it's very quiet. But before, I had been speaking to community members, and they have this issue or this apathy that they do not see the essence of coming out to vote, because they do not see the development they have always been crying for.
And based on those interactions, have you also had some interactions with maybe some of the would-be candidates about if perhaps the parties were involved, then that could have maybe ignited the passion?
Yes, I have spoken to, there are 4 people here contested. I've spoken to 2 of them now. And for them, they think that whether there was the parties involved or not, this would have been the same, because people tend out to have apathy towards the district level election, unlike the parliamentary and then the presidential. And also they've raised the issue of the voting being organized on a working day. They feel that most people would not leave their offices to come out and vote.
But that's not an argument. We've had December 7 falling on working days.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, but this concerns they are raising.
Yeah, I do know that. But generally, where you are, how many people are on the roll, and what can we say in relation to that?
People coming out, but for the assembly members, those who have stood up for this election, they have hope that their people will turn out, because they say that their message and whatever their vision is positive, and they believe that the people would rally behind them.
Well, did they try also to rally people in the community to come and vote for them?
No, not this morning. They haven't done such a thing.
Well, we know that you'll be visiting other electoral areas, just adjourning where you are, and so we'll speak to where do you think you're going next, or have you designated anywhere you're going next based on your schedules?
So from here, I'll go to 2nd D.
Okay.
I'll go to 4 places. That is the Roman Park, Komfuase, and then around the Fishing Harbor.
All right. We'll call you again at La Kwanza. 2019 award winning journalist for us. But we have to go to Isaac Nonja, who is at Damango, an electoral area called Canteen electoral area. Isaac, good morning.
Welcome, Roland.
Yes, Canteen electoral area. Is that food?
Yes, that's an electoral area.
I'm asking whether there's food there since it's a canteen.
Well, canteen used to be full of food, but it's not the case these days.
I do understand that. But
Yes.
what can you report by way of what you're seeing in the description of what the atmosphere is?
Yeah, at the moment, a lot of people are out trying to cast their vote and move to their farms. It's predominantly a cosmopolitan area, full of people who are mostly traders and farmers.
Okay.
I will speak. We can see close to about 15 women line up. The men are yet to show up. That shows how enthusiastic some of them are taking this particular election. And areas like some of the police stations down Canteen, in some school, we check and realize that just 1 or 2 people are there. Electoral officers are there, and then people are yet to march to those areas to cast their vote. So Canteen electoral area, for now, people are trying to come out. Others are yet to come out.
Have you been able to interact with the would-be voters, those in the queues?
Yes. Our interaction with them yesterday is that, some are in dissolution, others too are eager to cast their vote. But one thing that some women share with us yesterday is that these are people who come to you with seed words, promises, you cast vote for them, despite the fact that they're not able to fulfill some of their promises. But just to see and hear from them what is going on, that they don't hear. That almost serves as a disincentive for them to be able to go again and cast their vote for them. It's not encouraging. Why Alice was saying, why not? Let's continue to get them to represent us. Whether we like or not, we need people to represent us at the assembly.
Yeah. How many people are standing for elections in this electoral area?
There are 4. That's the interesting thing here. The incumbent member, one Emmanuel Kachana, a health professional, is contending with one young and vibrant youth called Abraham, an Apana. He happened to be his younger brother. We have 2 other areas.
They are siblings?
Not siblings as such, not that these people are from extended family.
Okay.
There are 3 young men contesting the incumbent. That obviously gives me a big blow or challenge to be able to marshal these 3 young men who are equally popular in the electoral area like Canteen.
Well, you never know. If you study elections and you follow what the analysis is, it could mean that the 3 young men could also divide the against vote. You understand?
Precisely so.
So he may go away winning.
You might have one who can equally pull the strength of the 2 and add to himself. That will pose a challenge to the incumbent. And that is Abraham we are talking about.
Well, we'll say that. But let's come to the studio before then we go back and speak to some ordinary Ghanaians, especially in the upper regions. But there seemed to be this indication from the last report that women were more seen in the queue. And could it also be because they were the ones who were approached, or they are more interested in development of the areas?
Yeah, it could. It also depends on how the gentleman also went about his campaign. It could be he's somebody who goes around the houses to talk to the people, and the women are sympathetic. They want to, elect him. So that is it.
One thing that has always characterized and has been the criticism from those who have been elected in these assembly elections, the fact that they don't have funding to do their work. And if you listen to the narration of Natalia Kwanzaa from Takrady, it is that those who have voted, the voters thought did not fulfill their promises.
Yes. That is the bane, you know, of the whole thing. I've been telling you that development has been the factor. You can be in an area where, for example, you get up in the morning, there's no water. And the assemblyman may be promised, oh, when I get to the power, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. At the end of the 4-year period, no water is running through their taps. So what do you expect them to do? They will just sit back. That you are wasting our time, you are not doing anything for us. Our basic needs are not being met. So what do? Look at the area where we stay, you know, where you pass to the University of Science and Technology around our area. The whole of that area hasn't got water. Kobenya. That whole area, there's no connection.
The houses, they're big.
Very big houses, but there's no connection to anything.
The big men built houses in areas without connection.
And when you even dig a borehole, it is iron. Iron is in the water, and you have to treat it. So you see, when you are an assemblyman, you come to stand in front of these people, and you are talking to them, what will be the expectation? That is the problem. Yeah. So these are some of the factors that are preventing people from doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's a point in time where we have to do the analysis. We're going to the upper regions and having some interaction with ordinary voters. When we come back, Dr. Eric Udrosai, former head of the Institute of Local Government Studies, but also a consultant with the Ministry of Local Government currently, but a local government expert as well, will be speaking to us on some of these nuances. What should we be reading into it, and why perhaps we need to bring back that conversation about having the political parties participate in it? I was for a no, but now I'm getting convinced that, Charlie, we need to situate the conversation better. But let's listen to you, the ordinary Ghanaian.
I will not be voting, I will not be taking part in this election because my vote is not in Upper West. So I think I need to be, or I should be part of the decision making of the country or the community in which I find myself. So my vote should really count a lot in choosing somebody who would be a leader in whichever community that I find myself.
Yeah, I will surely vote because I'm a Ghanaian. My vote is needed. I'll vote because I have my right to vote. I will say to the people that we are going to elect to keep to their rights because we trusted them by casting our votes to them. And they should also be true and to let us do the works together so that it won't be something that is imposed on us, but it's something we are doing together.
Yes, I'm going to participate in that. Yes, this assembly election is about the community. How well the people in the community can mobilize themselves, mobilize their resources together, put their energies together, and develop the area concerned. That's why I must vote. Well, there are some challenges associated with the disease level voting. Here's the case that Assemblyman himself doesn't have the financial power to construct the roads, to provide the water, build all the schools. But if you have somebody who can liaise very well with the community, with the government, and even with NGOs, at least some development can come to the area. We have voted not purposely for the Assemblyman himself, but we want to see how best we can unite all our energies behind the Assemblyman to solicit support from the government, from NGOs, and even from within ourselves to better ourselves.
Looking at the structure or the framework of our constitution and our government, you realize that we definitely need people from the scratch before we get to the top. And it is very necessary for us to vote people who are influential and we know can do the work to chair those functions for us. And I'm quite happy about how people have seen the need to enter into the district assembly election this time around. You will see that it is a little competitive. All the same, I think most of them need orientation or education on what exactly the work entails. I think over the years, it's just about someone who is popular and then they give the vote to the person. It's not supposed to be so. It's supposed to be someone who is influential though, but knows what to do when he's given the mandate. That is one thing I would like to suggest. Although it is very close and we all know that the date is in this December, but surely I'm very, very sure that people who have entered and know what they are going to do, they definitely going to do the work for us. So that is why I think I also have to participate, because it is my right.
For me, I will surely take part in the elections, because I believe that we should develop our areas from the bottom to the top. That is the bottom approach. And over the years, we have seen development being at the top before coming to the bottom, which has made Ghana underdeveloped. So come Tuesday, I'll surely go and cast my vote for whoever I think better work in my area, better develop my area in the interest of Ghana. I will do so.
Before.
And that's where we transition and call in our next guest. He's seated right close to me, as well as we've sandwiched him, myself and Mr. Ahin. Dr. Udrosan, you know him, a former head of the Institute of Local Government Studies, a chartered accountant, a lawyer, but also now a consultant with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. I'm right?
That's right.
Yeah, great. Is it UNDP consultant?
It's a UNDP technical advisor.
UNDP technical advisor. But it would mean that we need people to be interested in this. Already, just like what we had predicted, and the argument that had characterized the yes or no discussion, it seemed to be rearing its head at the polling stations.
Yeah, definitely. You would see that when it comes to elections, you need an institution to mobilize people to come out to vote. That institution is missing at the local government level because of the absence of political parties. NCC can do their part by doing civic education. EC can do their part by doing voter education. But which institution is responsible for bringing the people out to go and vote? People will not come out naturally to vote. So that is the missing link. And that's the more reason why we're going to go for the referendum, and then it was suspended. That notwithstanding, people must understand that you should take part in local level elections, because you are going to elect leaders who will determine your fate, your development need for the next 4 years. And that is the beginning of a long cycle, because if you elect your unit committee members, you elect your assembly member, next year you go and elect your MP, and then you elect the president. These are the 4 critical people who should bring development to you. So that if you fail to take part in this year's local level elections, you have done a great disservice to yourself, because somebody will go and elect a leader for you. Again, people must understand that at the local level election, it's first past the post. It is not 50+1. So maybe if you fail to vote, your one would help the people elect a bad leader. So you need to go out there to add your one to it so we can have good leaders.
Well, sir, Mr. Ahin, elect a bad leader who is on a ticket of a party. Yeah, or elect a good supposed leader who is on a ticket of a party.
Yes, if you elect a bad leader who is on the ticket of a party, the performance will also reflect, and the people will know.
That's the counter argument.
That's the counter argument. And if you elect a good one, the performance will also show. So that's it.
How do we, at the end of the day, try to perhaps complement this by way of the argument that had been raised by the knowers? And I keep saying this by way of either funding, because this then broadens the participation of the institutions as been advocated by the yeses, so to speak, in mobilizing, in choosing who they have to get to represent them, etc. And that takes a lot of resources.
Yes, it takes a lot of resources. And if we're going to agree to let the yeses win so that the parties will come in, then it means that the people who are in the parties who have monies are going to go to the down on the stream, mobilize the people, do the campaigning for them, send them around, tell them they are the people who are supposed to be, championing their causes, and then maybe win it. But others are also saying that with the acrimony involved in these partisan things, if we are not careful and we descend to the local level, if we are not careful, we will not be able to.
What does your experiences tell you?
Well, I don't think we need to fear so much. We don't need to fear in the sense that there are rules governing the game. There are rules regulations governing the elections. And I don't see how we should sit down for these things to get up in flames. We should be able to control it. Let us not fear what is going to be the outcome. You see, because it is guided by rules, and we should be able to do it.
Well, myself included, because we had been nowhere making negative comments about all this. This seemed, I don't know whether the president planned this to say, okay, more and so
I like the outcome of the election.
Yeah, so you catch them say the parties don't come one. But at the end of the day, could it even mean that in our general advocacy for not having the parties come in and then simulate what they do at the top, we are likely going to have a rather lack of apathy, and individuals who really have the prowess, the ability to be able to perform well at this level will rather not get elected because of the apathy.
Yeah, you see, the opportunity we've missed is that we've missed an opportunity to quality assure the process to get good leaders. Because as it stands now, anybody at all can come up. But if you were to introduce the political party, you could have quality assure the process and make sure that the people they put up have some level of competence to bring development. Aside from that, we could have managed these challenges we claim we have at the national level using the local level systems
to balance
it. Because if you have checks and balances in the system.
What do you mean by that? We're just balancing emotions.
Yeah, we are balancing emotions. But what I'm saying is that at the local government level, for instance, if you think there are a lot of acrimonious things happening at the national level, at the local government level, if we are able to devise a means of resolving it in an electoral area, we can up it to the regional level and then up it to the national level gradually. We'll be finding a solution to it. And then you see, one thing that we've also missed is the accountability bit. Because now it will become extremely difficult to hold people accountable. You hold an individual accountable, you don't hold a political party accountable. But if you were to introduce political parties, what was going to happen is that in as much as you hold the individual accountable, the political parties may also feel guilty that their candidate is not performing. In that case, they will always make sure that the candidate is performing. So we've missed an opportunity to even amend our constitution for the first time, the entrenched provision, for the very, very, very first time. And you have a CRC report sitting on the shelf we are not implementing. If we have an opportunity to commence implementation, to even reduce the powers of the executive, for me, we have lost a lot of opportunities. And I think in future, we should not allow that to happen to us again. In future, we should not allow that to happen to us again. We should never allow that to happen to us again as a country. Because the executive has so much powers, and the executive provision in the constitution is entrenched. So if you have an entrenched provision like this, and it is difficult to even amend it and reduce it, and you have an opportunity to reduce the powers, then what are you going to do? So for me, I think it's a lost opportunity. But that notwithstanding, our campaign should be that we're going for a triple. One has dropped, now we have a double. The double is also important, because we need good local level leaders to be able to bring development. So go out there and vote for assembly members. The referendum bit has not been suspended in its entirety. The president said we should build a national consensus. And I'm very sure that throughout this process, the election process, we'll gradually be learning our lessons. It will make the consensus building easier. And we should also know that this crop of assembly members we are going to elect are the people who will help us build the consensus. So we move the process forward.
Let's get onto the phone lines. Anas Sabit is one of our lead correspondents, and he's in an electoral area in the Techimine South constituency. Good morning to you, Anas Sabit.
Good morning, Raymond.
Okay. Roland. Okay. This electoral area, is it a place you're usually familiar with?
Yes, very familiar with.
Okay. So prior to the elections, what really was the vibrancy of the activity to get people to get to the polls? Before I get to ask you about the atmosphere, etc.
Well, prior to this, there are three men vying for this position. The incumbents have decided not to go again. So we have fresh guys coming around with fresh ideas. And the campaign has been very heated from the past month up to yesterday. And the electors are all eager to choose one of them. Who,
I would urge you to please raise your voice.
How is it now? Better?
Better. After this, drink some cocoa so that we can but would you say the so-called actions and vibrancy that you witness have reflected in the turnout as you're seeing?
Yeah, very much. I got here around 6:30 and I came to meet a queue already, even before the EC officials arrived here. They came with, I think, about 15 minutes to 7, and the queue was still, as I speak to you now, the queue is still building. We have 2 polling stations here. We have an armed polling station A, and then both have a lot of people already in the queue. The voting started quite late, about 40 minutes late, with EC officials. The excuse they were giving us was they didn't have validation stamps at the time they set up their equipment. So someone has to go back to the EC office to get these stamps available for the commencement of the process. So as I speak to you now, voting is ongoing and the queue is still building. People came here earlier, but because of the absence of the validation stamps, some of them have to leave. And once we've been informed that the stamps are available, I can see a lot of people are coming back to cast their ballot.
How many voters are on the roll?
Three.
No. 3. How many voters are on the register?
Okay, I'll have to go back and get that information.
All right, but does it mean generally when all these smaller issues of whether materials are ready, etc., from the commission are resolved, then we could have some of those areas, the voting being smooth?
Yes, like I stated earlier on, we have tight security here. There are police officers here, and the voters are all comporting themselves so well as it stands now. There has been a line drawn between the first person in the queue and then where the first point is in terms of where the EC officials are. And they are all making sure they are not crossing that line until it is their turn to cross over to the table for their ballot papers to be issued again to cast their ballot. So as it stands now, there is no case in terms of misunderstanding whatsoever, because the security over here is quite tight and the people are actually comporting themselves.
Oh, definitely. Well, thank you, Anasabit. Good work you've done. Am I right, based on my experience and observation, all of us have observed, if it was a main election and the materials or maybe were short and the Electoral Commission official has said we're going to bring, there would have been upheaval.
I'm also surprised that the people have taken it coolly. Because the crowd is not even that big.
Yeah. Is it not because it's non-partisan?
Yes, it's non-partisan. And I'm sure...
So that's one of the advantages.
Yes. If it had been partisan, people have been crying him.
There'll be suspicions.
Suspicions here and there. And the EC would have been in trouble by now for not bringing the validating stamp to the center. So this is one of the issues. But I've also noticed that in the rural communities, the
turnout is better. Why?
No, because they know each other.
Oh.
You see, if you take a big electoral area like where we are, the assemblymen who are contesting, who do they even... They don't go around, and people don't know them. All you see is their pictures hanging around. But do they even have the wherewithal to go around the community, to introduce themselves, to speak to them?
I don't understand. They need their legs and health.
Well, they need their legs and health.
And come and knock on my gate.
That's why I'm saying that maybe the places, it might be these days the electoral areas are big, very big in the big towns and cities.
But see, the other challenge is that in urban areas like this, we live in gated communities. People wake up at dawn and then they will go. I left home around 4:30, and then I'm in town.
Yeah.
If an assembly member is looking for me, he can't find me. But what we should be seen to be doing is institutionalize what we call platform meetings to enable them occasionally meet people in their electoral area. The law provides for that, but the funding is always not available. So you don't get these aspirants or assembly members consulting their people before assembly meeting, after every assembly meeting. So that is the challenge in an urban environment.
Okay, I'm just getting this message from Sanusa Boynaba, and he raises an interesting question. I'm sure that I had wanted to touch on it next. It says, Roland, the bottom line of the issues raised by the no campaigners has nothing to do with people coming out to vote or otherwise. Even at the MP and presidential level, apathy exists. Why not advocate for a development fund for the assembly members and their election instead of make them real developmental agents without any funding to work with at all?
You see, I don't understand what the person is saying.
No.
If there's a difference between giving the assembly member funds to develop the electoral area and then funding the assembly member to undertake campaign. You know, if it is about funding development in the electoral areas, I know some assemblies have what we call electoral area development fund. You go to assembly, Adenta Municipal Assembly, they have it there. What they do not have is that the assembly members do not have assembly members common fund. And rightly so, because the common fund is for the district assembly. So ordinarily, an assembly member should not go and be promising that I'll come and build a school or a market. Assembly members' promise should be that I'll facilitate the building of a school. Yeah. Because
when you get me
elected, you know, and after you are elected, you make sure that it finds its way into the assembly development plan. They do a budget for it, and that budget should not be common fund. It should be IGF. And then you help the assembly mobilize the IGF. Once the money comes, you make sure that they do that.
I think the area the guy is harping on is about getting funding for their campaign. That is the area he's talking about.
But that is not even happening at the national level.
Even at the national level, nobody gives anybody money.
You see, that's why the parties have to
maybe what they have to be doing is trying to get people to fund them. Going to some NGOs.
Maybe just or in the communities. You can see somebody who has but
that one is also introduce another challenge. The person funds you and he thinks it's a business opportunity. Okay. So once you win elections, there's the need for some contract to come so that he can defray the money. You know, so we don't start some of these problems. That is why bring the political parties, allow the political parties.
But it's the same thing. They get funded by the big people so that they win contracts in
return. Well, in certain cases, yes, but we have a Political Parties Act that requires of you to disclose your source of funding. You know, the only problem is that we are not implementing that one to the latter. You know.
Okay. Okay. So, Roland, I don't see the need to waste my time and vote for some leaders who cannot bring the change to the community. They rather just make us keep complaining about our problems to them, which they even cannot solve. And this one is from Charles Omane Ajekum from Cape Coast.
Let Charles know that you can only hold somebody accountable when you are part of the process. So he should put everything behind him. Go out there and vote. Once you have voted, interestingly, you know that at least you have some power. You are part of the process, so you can hold the person accountable. Charles must also know that there is a recall provision in the law. Yeah. If you vote for an assembly member, and in the first 2 years of the tenure of the assembly member, he's not bringing development, you can recall the assembly member by getting a number of people to sign the recall form for you. If you are able to get about 30% of the people voting in the electoral area signing for his recall, the electoral commission, you can bring him out. So it is not as if you go there if he's not performing, then you are saddled with a non-performing assembly member forever. No.
If we have it going this way, it means that we have people elected and sometimes the expectation is very high. I take your area because I know that, and I know my area too. Ajekojo is close to Ashaiman. And before you get to Lashibi. Now, our road, we always tend to ask the assembly member to find a grader and
come and do this and that.
How does he do it?
Oh no, with the grader, let me help you. With the grader, every assembly has a grader. The assembly member is expected to request for the grader, but he is supposed to fuel it. So that if it is about graveling...
So his job is to mobilize as the residents to contribute.
What he should have done was invite the resident and tell them that we need about 10 gallons of fuel to fuel the grader. So people can contribute. And that is the leadership thing that we want the assembly members to bring. But they are not paid. They give them only certain allowances. But they can also work with corporate institutions to support them to do some of these things.
Is it that we're not educating them enough?
Yeah, I was going to come to that.
Yes.
Maybe what you are talking about,
because
people don't even know.
Exactly. That they have those abilities.
That is why we are saying that, they should let knowledgeable people. People at least who can read and understand.
That's where the parties come in.
Yes. You get somebody who really know even about the rules and regulations of the assembly, how he's able to mobilize funding, how he's able to get the money that you are talking about for the grader, for him to get.
Because I'm sure that if an individual came to me and explained his plans for me, I could maybe dole out 100 Ghana cedis. Yeah, I'm sure.
Look at somebody who was talking about giving cocoa to his people. The other day, did you read that that they should vote for him, and all the people in the area, the electoral area, the school children will be given cocoa.
Honorable Ponchi.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
You know, even though it is not feasible, you can see that he has some plans. Yeah. Probably he's going to ask some people in the area to help him do what he intends to.
Honorable Ponchi. Well, I have this one. It says, this is Moro from Nkranza. Nkranza North District. Mr. Roland, we appreciate the work you and JoyNews are doing this. My question is, I do not understand why they are not participating in my area. Please go and encourage others to participate tomorrow. I think, but let's see whether there's some enthusiasm at where Martina Bugre is in the northern region. Where exactly are you?
I just left the Kalpohene Anglican Center, where we have 4 polling stations. Kalpohene Anglican Center. The school has 4 polling stations in that particular area.
Okay.
But coming through from Fo, I passed through Fo, Zion, Snake, Fo, Matoria, Kalpohene, SDA 1 and 2. And all these places, they had not even set up yet. Though the people were there, the EC officials were there, they were yet to start. But the action point is the Kalpohene school, where we have 4 centers. A lot of people gathered this morning to cast their votes, but there's a problem. The candidates have their names, the candidates have their pictures and their positions, but they do not have their names, and that is creating a bit of tension. The former assembly person met with the 4 candidates and asked them if they wanted the voting to go on, if they wanted the polls to go on. Those who are in support should put their hands in his palm, and then they come to an agreement. The 4 days, but their supporters are rejecting. I've spoken to some of them.
Martina, we seem to be losing you. Oh, maybe it's a technical difficulty. But Martina, are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
We lost you a bit there. You are saying the supporters, did they agree that the voting should go on despite the names not there?
Some have agreed and some have not agreed. They say it involves illegality. And so they expect that the EC should have done the right thing. And what I also gather is that the EC met with them yesterday and said it's corrected.
Matilda, I think maybe we have to call you back because I don't know. Martina, you seem to be fading in and out. So, all right. Now, how do we resolve difficulty? You are the election observer.
It looks like the ballots have been printed.
And the issue
names are not there.
Met them yesterday.
Yes, then they should have actually discussed with them the way forward. Like, if we would write your names under your pictures, if all agree.
Because it's a community election.
Yes, or because their pictures were on the ballot. Okay, so if they don't like it, then of course the EC will withdraw the ballots and go and reprint. You see, but the best thing to do is to write the names because the pictures are there, and I don't think this should be a problem in that electoral area at all.
These are some of the things sometimes we expect the parties not to be acrimonious about, right? Because I'm sure if parties were involved, there would have been some huge conspiracy theories about how somebody wants to make sure somebody is nipped in the bud.
But you know, if parties were to be involved, they have the IPAC decentralized. You know, so at that level, they
would have resolved.
But you see, I'm also surprised because when you print the ballot, there's a specimen that goes to the EC for them to look at, and then they will approve that it's okay. Go ahead. See, so when that thing came and their names were not there, they should have just gone back. And you see, they even displayed.
Yeah, they display.
The notice of poll will tell you, and the notice of poll is exactly what comes on the ballot. You see, so for them to have, maybe they met them and they didn't agree, I don't know.
Yeah.
This shouldn't have been a problem.
It shouldn't have been a problem. Yeah. Now let's go to Ekumfi Emuna in the central region. Good morning to you, Richard Kwejo-Nyakon, our lead correspondent in the central region. And you're saying that some residents have threatened to physically prevent the ECE staff from conducting the polls?
Not that I'm saying they are carrying out their threat this morning. It started this dawn, so they've been burning car ties. They've been pouring libation. The youth are chanting war songs.
Why?
They are in red. They want to prevent any EC official from entering the community. So
why?
Yes, because their roads have not been fixed. They've been complaining. They say that when during elections they become important. After the elections they become less important, and so they don't want that one to happen. So this time is the opportune time for them to strike, and that's why they are doing that.
And the video you're watching now, it's the earlier report sent in, the visual sent in by Richard this dawn. And if they do that, then what happens? Did you ask them why they would want to prevent the electoral officials from doing that?
Well, so this one is just a dress rehearsal for the 2020 election.
That's what they said.
Want to begin with this. Yes, they want to begin with this. And then if nothing happens, then in the 2020 elections, they are not going to even take part. They are going to prevent, not even during the election day, but they are going to physically prevent the politicians from entering there to even campaign until their roads are fixed. They say it's costing them a lot of headaches. Pregnant women do suffer. They also suffer post-harvest losses because they cannot cut their goods from the farm to the marketing centers to sell them. They also have been recounting some of their contributions to the GDP, what they grow in their farms, the fishing activities they take part, all of these things put together to develop the Ghanaian, Ghana as a country. And so they do not understand why other areas are being developed since the years that they've been complaining about their roads. No one. They come, they give them the promises, and then after the election,
Richard,
they go back.
On the screen now, we're having a fetish priest. Is it a fetish priest pouring some libation? Is it libation?
So he's not a fetish priest. He's one of the community leaders. They have gone to pour libation to make sure that the EC officials do not come there.
And is it the community god? The community god?
I cannot say for sure that it's a community god, but they have some bottles of schnapps and other things, but I cannot really say
Did you ask them if they were able to invoke the spirit of their gods? How come they've not been able to invoke the spirits or the minds of the politicians to do their roads for them?
Well, I think the explanation has been that the politicians have taken advantage of them. They've taken them for granted, and irrespective of that. So what they can do at this moment is invoke their deities or their gods, the spirits of the Imuna community, to come and support them to carry out this action.
Yeah, it's quite a story there. And this one, it's supposed to be a dress rehearsal for the 2020 election. But look, at the end of the day, it looks like as the country is developing and growing, the demands become more steep on those elected.
That's right.
And the people seem to be exerting that sort of authority from those elected.
Yes.
I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. But let me appeal for calm from the people of Imuna in the central region. And then let me tell them that, you see, development starts at the local government level. They should stop what they are doing. They should allow the election to take place, because it is only when you have an assembly member before issues like this can be discussed at the assembly. It is only when you have an assembly member and assembly well constituted that your road can be done by the assembly. It is the assembly that does road. The road they're talking about may be a feeder road, which falls within the mandate of the assemblies. So I would appeal for calm, and then I also appeal for I will invite the chief executive of that particular area to go and have a word with them, and then after that give them some assurance so they will be able to allow the process to continue. Because without an assembly member, it will be extremely difficult for the assembly to even take on board the road in their development plan. So I will appeal for calm.
Roland, the issue is not about having more people to vote. It is about how we have made our multi-party elections violent, and the fact that when crime is committed, the perpetrators are not punished because they belong to a certain political party. For example, he continues, what happened to those who shot innocent Ghanaians in the last by-election? Okay, so if the argument is that we need the political parties to make sure we create that vibrancy at the local level, the onus also lies on the political parties to hold themselves more responsible and accountable. I guess that's what the people want. Let me go with you first.
Yeah, you see, this thing that is happening, it has nothing to do with whether it is partisan or not.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with it. It is just a question of having the patience to wait for your time, because it will definitely come. By involving in this kind of action, you are not getting the road. Like he was saying, you cannot get a road when you bend the ties. You see, so they have to be patient. They have to go and vote, get a very good person to represent them. It's only when you get a good, maybe the ones who have been representing them have not been forceful enough. See, so get a competent person to represent you, other than to be bending these ties. You bend the ties, and the smoke is even getting into their nostrils, and it's even dangerous for them.
Yeah.
So they should stop this and then maybe go to the district executive and start talking about these things. This is not going to help anybody.
Well, we have to make sure that we keep the education ongoing. Please make sure you go out and vote for a candidate in your area to spur the development. But how do we improve on the process now that we're seeing that we need the activism down there to be able to get everybody on board? And now we're arguing and seeing that it's the vehicle, being the political parties, that could pull the people and the resources together. How do we move the argument next?
That is, this is a clear indication that we need to start building a national consensus on the issue. If we all agree that we need the political party at the local government level, then once the national consensus is built, we can reintroduce the process of introducing the political parties into the local government system. But then we can put some checks and balances in the system to ensure that the excesses we are witnessing at the national level, for which reason people call for a no vote, can be minimized at the local government level, and also improve accountability. Because multi-partisan democracy is about numbers. Election produces the most popular person, not the most competent person. However, if you want the election to produce the most competent person, then you work on the electorate to be competent. Because it is only a competent electorate that can elect one of them to lead a group.
That's right.
But the argument now is that if I don't join a party, then I don't get to be part of exhibiting my abilities to be able to promote public accountability and contribute to public discourse.
No, that's not it. Let me come in here. That is not it. Because even when multi-partisan democracy is introduced, there is that opportunity for independent candidates to stand. And I want to see a situation where...
If I go and stand against a party, I will not...
No, if somebody like Osei Kwame Despite stands against NDC or NPP candidate in a local government level, you will win. If Papa Kwesi Ndum... He
can spend.
And we are even looking for a situation where...
Papa Kwesi Ndum was for...
KEA. And in fact, if once we open it up, we can even have churches sponsoring candidates. We can even have women groups sponsoring candidates. We can even have civil society organizations who think that they can develop to sponsor a candidate. We will see the women sponsoring a women's candidate. Those are the kinds of things we want to see.
I don't even think it's a question of the spending. It's somebody who can mobilize the people.
Yeah.
And of course, he also has the backing of the money. And he has been seen to be doing that kind of thing. The despite you mentioned.
That's right.
He is known to be, even outside the political realm, trying to mobilize people in the locality.
If you have somebody like that sponsoring a candidate,
I mean,
that
candidate definitely will do. If he doesn't do it himself, he can sponsor people, and the person will be. So we need such people in the communities to help.
Well, we have to wind up the conversation, and I have a couple of your messages. Please, this voting is not important. Please, it is important. Go and vote. And this one is from Evans from Garu Gagbiri. Says they should make it a holiday for workers to travel to their places to vote. What do you say?
I don't think that is important.
Yeah.
In the sense that how many minutes does it take to go to the poll to the police
I think he's making the argument because
people have to travel to their various places.
People have registered elsewhere for the main election, so.
Yeah, there's this question of transferring your vote. But of course, the argument is that you must be in your locality. So if you really wanted to go to your locality to vote, you could have even asked for permission. I'm not sure any head of department would have denied anybody.
Yeah.
Because it's a national assignment. If anybody wanted to go to the hometown to vote, I'm sure he would have been given the opportunity to do so. So giving us a holiday I don't think that's important.
I have a couple of the messages. I have this says, good morning. Okay, good morning. Greetings to you and your panel. Please, where do I find the laws on the unit committee members? I wanted to do an article about them and couldn't find any. Education here in Africa is really a privilege. From Eugene in Swedru. I think we do have the regulations.
Yeah, we do have the legislative instrument number 1967. If you go to the Assembly Press, you will get it. If you don't have it, you go to the internet and then you type www.ghanalaws.com/unit committee laws or LI 1967. You'll be able to get it. If you're not able to find it, you go to the Ministry of Local Government or the Institute of Local Government Studies. You'll be able to get a copy.
That's right.
Okay, so the regulations are there. I have this from Ahmed Mubarak Nuhu from New Bibrim. Or New Abrim. Okay. New Abrim. Yeah. Okay, it says the turnout is very high in my area. I believe it will be one of the highest assembly election turnout in history. I will even send you pictures in the Abrim constituency. Thank you very much. And we know that this is on. Many of you don't want to go and vote. Please make sure you go and vote. I've had in the studio Dr. Eric Osai, who is a UNDP consultant with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, had been a former head of the Institute of Local Government Studies. He's also a consultant, a legal practitioner, and a chartered accountant. And then we also have a former director of elections for Ghana's Electoral Commission, but now the co-chair, coordinator for the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO. Mr. Albert Ahin, thank you for joining me. I've enjoyed the conversation. But look, we told you about, well, we're likely going to see some increment in fuel because there was supposed to be a BOS component inputted by the MPA subsequently in the pricing, but we're monitoring the situation and it's indicating that that could be stood down. What does it mean? And then generally throughout the year, we've seen some increment here and there. What does it mean? And what we should be looking out for. So we'll have all that conversation next. Stay with us.